Good morning, I'm Sophia Grant. It's July 29th. Here are the top developments involving President Donald Trump from Monday, July 28th. Let's dive right in. President Trump announced a significant shift in his Ukraine peace proposal while visiting Scotland. He revealed that the initial 50-day timeline given to Russia to reach a ceasefire agreement has now been reduced to just 10 to 12 days. Trump stated that failure to act would trigger severe secondary sanctions, particularly targeting countries still importing Russian energy. This ultimatum comes after intensified Russian attacks on Kyiv, which Trump called unacceptable acts of aggression. The president emphasized that delay is no longer an option and urged European leaders to prepare for coordinated economic pressure. The Moscow Stock Exchange dropped over 1% following his remarks, and energy markets showed signs of volatility. Trump's move signals a tougher stance toward Moscow as his administration attempts to end the two-year-long conflict before the end of summer. President Trump has unveiled a new U.S. humanitarian initiative for Gaza, proposing the establishment of American-run food aid stations to address the worsening hunger crisis. In a joint appearance with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Trump said the U.S. would take a leading role in distributing emergency food supplies. He stressed that the humanitarian conditions in Gaza are real and dire. The president also spoke candidly about the stalled hostage negotiations with Hamas, describing the group as impossible to deal with. Trump confirmed ongoing talks with Israeli officials, though he hinted at growing frustration with Prime Minister Netanyahu's approach. The proposed aid centers are expected to open within 2 weeks, pending security arrangements. Critics say Trump's policy still favors Israel too heavily, but supporters argue the move shows he is willing to address civilian needs directly. The Trump administration has paused new restrictions on advanced AI chip exports to China, prompting criticism from national security experts. The delay applies to NVIDIA's H20 and similar chips, which had been scheduled for embargo due to fears of dual-use military applications. According to sources, Trump made the decision to preserve leverage in ongoing trade talks with Beijing. However, more than 20 former intelligence and defense officials signed a letter warning that the policy shift could jeopardize U.S. strategic advantage. Critics argue the pause contradicts Trump's hardline rhetoric on China. Supporters within the administration say it's a tactical move to secure greater trade concessions, especially on energy and rare earth exports. The issue now threatens to create a political rift within the Republican Party, as hawkish lawmakers demand the ban be reinstated immediately. A federal judge in Massachusetts has issued a preliminary injunction against a Trump administration policy aimed at cutting Medicaid funding from Planned Parenthood affiliates in over 20 states. Judge Indira Talwani ruled that the plan likely violates federal statutes and constitutional protections, particularly the Equal Protection Clause. The policy would have impacted nearly 200 reproductive health clinics that serve low-income women. Trump officials argued the cuts were necessary due to Planned Parenthood's connection to abortion services, even though no federal dollars fund abortion directly. In her ruling, Judge Talwani cited potential harm to millions of patients and the undermining of federal health care guarantees. Reproductive rights advocates hailed the decision as a major victory. The White House has announced it will appeal the ruling, stating that taxpayer funds should not support politically motivated health agendas. In a new interview, President Trump strongly denied any personal connection to Jeffrey Epstein's private island and rejected the idea that he had ever considered pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. Trump stated that he never had the privilege or desire to visit that island and claimed he broke ties with Epstein more than 2 decades ago. The comments came amid renewed legal attention on Epstein's circle, as Maxwell's legal team appeals her conviction and hints at releasing names of powerful associates. Trump is also suing the Wall Street Journal for defamation over a story that claimed he once wrote Epstein a birthday letter. Trump called the report completely false and politically motivated. Legal analysts suggest the president's public denials aim to diffuse speculation ahead of potential legal developments involving former Epstein associates. Vice President J.D. Vance has kicked off a national tour to promote the administration's sweeping new tax and spending law. Speaking at a rally in Columbus, Ohio, Vance described the legislation as a once-in-a-generation overhaul of America's economic model. The law includes deep tax cuts for individuals and businesses, major reforms to Medicaid, and increased border enforcement funding. Vance emphasized that the law will reduce inflation and streamline federal programs. He also criticized Democrats for what he called fear-mongering over health care cuts. Political analysts believe the tour is also a strategic effort to boost Republican momentum ahead of the 2026 midterms. Vance's visibility is increasing as he positions himself but as a potential future party leader. That's all for today's Trump Watch, July 28th. Thanks for joining us this Tuesday morning. We'll keep you updated as these stories develop.